Hey everybody, before I get started, I just want to mention a couple of ways that you can engage with me on a more personal level. I have a few avenues set up and I keep focusing on one, and I figured why don't I make a short little video talking about all of them real quick before we get into these episodes. So first thing, Patreon. There's a link in the episode description and every episode description to the Patreon, as well as a video on the feed called Major Announcement that has all the details of what each tier offers and how much they cost. I implore you to check that out. I offer a lot of cool shit for my patrons. Second thing, the Discord channel. There's also a Discord link in the episode description and in every episode description. I have multiple channels set up there for each show that I'm covering, and it's a great way to just engage with me. I have a channel set up for MMA talk as well. I'm a big MMA fan, so if you're an MMA fan, you can check that out as well. There's a link to the Discord in the episode description. And then lastly, the Facebook and Twitter. Social media. Follow me on there. I post news on there. When I say news, I mean like, hey, I'm stopping covering this show. Hey, I'm starting covering this show. Let me know what you think about this. I do live watches of things on Facebook where like I'll check in and say I'm watching so-and-so show, and then I'll like live comment while I'm watching it, and that'll be cool if maybe you watch that show too and you want to watch along with me, or you're watching it later and you will see my thoughts, which are usually pretty entertaining because I'm usually pretty high when I'm writing them. So check out all those links in each episode description, and let's talk about this episode. Peace.
One mic, one mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic. One mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic. One mic. One mic.
Hey everybody, welcome back to One Mic, and today I'm here to talk about Season 3, Episode 7 of Apple TV's Ted Lasso, entitled The Strings That Bind Us. And this title refers to the string strategy that Ted employs to help with total football. He says that in Japanese culture, they believe that soulmates were connected with invisible strings, visible red strings tied to each of their respective fingers. Roy then decides they need to be connected by the dick, and the team scrimmages like this. Largely unfunnily, which was surprising because I thought this was going to be a really funny sequence, until there's a scare that Jamie's dick skin may have come off. At first, I didn't even know what the concern was, because you see the rope off, the string off, and I think that, like, we're supposed to be taken away from that, like, oh shit, the string came off somebody's dick, what happened? But then when somebody held it up, I thought, am I supposed to be noting how small the loop is? Like, I don't know. But I don't know. I'm surprised this episode was named after this, because it wasn't that funny until the concern of Jamie's dick skin coming off. And it didn't help the team at all on the field or in their minds. It was just a gag for the sake of a gag, and it was only marginally funny. I don't know. That's an interesting decision to me. But that's something I've noticed, I think, a lot about this season, though. And maybe it's in other seasons as well, and I just didn't notice it until now. But this season has introduced plot lines, ideas, concepts that only exist for a little bit of time and then have virtually no impact, and then they're gone, never to be seen again, as if they never existed. And you might be sitting there like, yo, what the fuck is he talking about? But I'm going to explain myself. You know, I said last season that it felt like they had 10 episodes for the season, and then Apple was like, no, fuck that, we want 12. And they had to scramble and shoehorn in another 2. After 7 episodes, with only 5 left in the entire series, it feels like colossal amounts of time have been wasted. Why? Well, because plot lines and ideas and concepts have been introduced that have virtually no impact and then go away, never to be seen again, as if they never happened. And I think this, combined with wildly long run times, and I think a significant decrease in humor. And you could see why this season has felt a little bit bloated and drawn out. I don't even want to say bloated. It's felt a little bit. I mean, it's felt a lot bloated and a lot drawn out. So I think I actually want to give a couple of examples of what I'm talking about here. So the first is with Zava. And of course, you could say Zava was introduced kind of like as a mirror to Jamie. But did we need a good 5 or so episode arc of this team getting this huge star and playing really well, only to incrementally improve Jamie, who had already improved anyway? Like, did you watch this episode and feel like anything from the Zava portion of this season meant anything in this one? I didn't think you did. Did you watch this episode and feel as if the Zava portion of the season had ever even happened? Exactly. And the same goes for Keely and Shandy. You know, Shandy may come back as Zava may, and I could be wrong. And if I am, I will come back in front of this camera and go, I was wrong. I didn't know what the fuck I was talking about. What they just did was great. But she does appear to be gone for now. And if she never comes back, what was the point of that arc? Because we've now moved on to Keely and Jack. Keely's experiences with Shandy, have Keely's experiences with Shandy influenced anything we saw from Keely in this episode? Exactly. So what was the point of Shandy? Like, it was really no point. Now, of course, again, I could be wrong about these things, and I will cop to it if I am, but, maybe one of you guys can give me a good reason for these story arcs that seemingly existed for no purpose other than to just have a bloated fucking season of long-ass episodes and extra scenes. Maybe you guys can tell me something that I'll buy. And it's same thing. If you do, I'll reply to your comment like, yeah, you know what? That makes a lot of sense. You're right. I've done that before. So I'm not above it, but it's gonna be tough, man. It's gonna be tough. All right, so let's get into talking about the episode proper, because I think this episode is a good example of when this show is not working and of when it really, really is. So I'm going to start with talking about the team. We're not going to spend a ton of time here, but the coaches are ready to roll out total football, and Coach Beer gives a presentation to the team about it. You know, I've already talked about the red string fiasco, but another tactic employed is having the team switch roles with one another. Jamie gets his own name, so he's not switching roles with anyone, and is told to essentially just keep doing what he does. And you can tell this doesn't quite sit well with Jamie, but he eats it and he goes along with it anyway. The team then tries to employ the total football strategy against Arsenal that week, and they're immediately down by 3-0 at halftime. Jamie finally works up the nerve to speak and says that rather than him being at the front and everyone coming to him, he should be in the middle, in the center, and everyone should go through him. And he explains this on the board. He's moving the pieces around. Everyone's captivated. They're watching on, and I think we're meant to understand that Jamie is slowly stepping into embracing and becoming this leader, you know, this leadership role. But did we need 5 episodes of Zava to get him there? I don't think we did. I don't think we needed any, because Jamie was already maturing last season. So spare me with that was the point of Zava. I think if you remove the Zava portion completely, as if there was not a single Zava scene that existed in this show, would you not still buy that Jamie has matured enough to do this? I would absolutely have fucking bought it. So don't tell me that was the point of Zava. We didn't need Zava for this. They come out and do Jamie's plan, and while they still lose 3-1, there is an admittedly gorgeous sequence of the team executing this total football shit perfectly, culminating with like this sick kind of like drop-off, no-look pass from Jamie to whoever was trailing behind him. I couldn't tell who it was. It was a sick shot. Even I was like cheering as if it was like real. I was like, oh shit! But Richmond still lost, but they do seem to be moving in the right direction as a team. Everyone's super motivated, a lot more positive. Even Trent is like, yo, this shit gonna work, fam. Like, Trent's bought in. So, it does seem like the team's about to start moving in a good direction. And with only 5 episodes left, there's not too much time, not a lot of time left for like a switch. Like, here's the team. The team's about to do good. Psych. Like, there's not really much time for any pulling out of the rug, so they say. But moving on to Sam. The B plot this week focuses on him. The restaurant's doing great. It's booked for months. But Sam's father is coming in, and I don't know about you guys. I was really excited to meet Sam's father. There's also another B plot, like a B plot to the A plot of the B plot. There's a UK Home Secretary who is sending refugees who have successfully made it to the UK back to wherever they came from. Everyone at Sam's restaurant hates this, and Sam sends out a tweet disparaging this. Not directed at anyone, it is directed. It's very much directed at the Home Secretary, but I mean, he doesn't at her in the tweet. Like, he doesn't tag her. He just says, like, yo, this is fucked up. The Home Secretary does the same thing. Why can't I remember the term for it? Were you talking about somebody, but you're not saying them directly in a tweet? Fuck. I forget the name of it. Anyway, shit. I really can't remember the name of this fucking term, dog. But she sends a tweet not tagging Sam, talking about him, saying that he needs to shut up and dribble, which is a very on the nose reference to when LeBron James was told the same thing by Laura Ingraham from Fox News when the NBA players were protesting for Black Lives Matter. So Sam and her go back and forth on Twitter. This time they actually are tagging each other until Sam's restaurant is vandalized by people who write "shut up and dribble" on the wall. We're then treated to an incredible scene with Sam here, where Sam angrily, after the restaurant vandalism, angrily walks to the team's locker room and talks about how basically there's evil people out there doing evil shit. They're fucking scumbags, while all he's doing about it is being paid to kick a little ball around. And then he adds, which they love me for until I fuck it up. And then now they're just like, yeah, you can get the fuck out of here and go back to your home country. And I loved that scene with Sam. Like, it's a great scene that's only elevated when after this rant, like, and when I say after this rant, I mean like as the period is inserted on the sentence, we see that Sam's father is in the room. And not only is it my man from Karth in Game of Thrones, but he's super supportive and there for Sam. And I thought that worked really well too, because again, we know Sam's history. And what do I talk about all the time? When you want to go for these big emotional scenes, you have to have done the work and laid the foundation to build up to them, so that when whatever it is happens, it really hits your viewer. And we know Sam's history with activism, as well as how his father feels about Sam's history with activism. So when you have Sam wanting to do more and seeing his father there to hear it and console him and embrace him, it fucking works. And that is what this show is not doing enough of this season. And I think they could stand to pick it up. The Sam plot ends this week with the team coming to fix up the restaurant. I feel like that's already happened before. Like, wasn't there another thing where, like, now they're fixing it up, but originally they were helping to, like, get it together? Like, I feel like this is the second time the team has surprised him to work on the restaurant. And then they all bond together. The team does. They set up a bar for Danny to serve drinks from, and they bond together while Sam bonds with his dad, cooking the food. And it's times like these, like I said, when this show is performing at its highest level. That scene with Sam and his dad, great. They built up to it. I don't even want to say that they built up to it. I don't think this was an end goal. It was just like they've done enough work on the Sam's character so that when this happens, it makes sense and it's fulfilling. And that's what I think we need a little bit more of. Moving on to what we need a little bit less of, when we first see Keely, she's out with Jack getting a first edition, receiving from Jack a first edition of Sense and Sensibility. I didn't want to make it sound like she was buying it. When the CFO, Barbara, whose name I'm just now learning, sees the book, she's very passive-aggressively judgmental about it to Keely, about the nature of Keely and Jack's relationship. And I went from being kind of like indifferent about Barbara, like, oh, sometimes she's kind of funny, I like her little snarkiness, to act like I fully fucking hated her in that moment. Like, if you're gonna openly judge your boss's relationship in front of her, to her, do it like a fucking adult with a backbone and not a smug chicken shit coward who's gonna passive aggressively give her little pussy ass opinion like, this is kind of what I sort of think, but I'm too scared and weak and soft to actually say it directly, but I think I'm big enough and cool enough to at least do this little bit. Like, it's some cowardly shit, man. I don't like when people are like that in real life. I don't like seeing it on this show, even though I know it's make-believe and it's probably not as big of a deal to everyone else as it is to me, but I don't like a fucking coward, and I don't like a fucking coward who tries to pretend they're not one. Like, okay, I'm gonna judge your relationship to you, but I'm not gonna actually say, hey, do you think it's a good idea for you to be dating the person who blah, 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 blah. I'm just gonna heavily, soft-spokenly imply it. Like, get the fuck out of my office, you're fired, asshole. Keely and Rebecca later have lunch to kind of catch up. She catches Keely up on what we saw last week. And Rebecca explains love bombing, which is essentially one person showering the other with big, extravagant displays of love, whether that's gifts or gestures, whatever. Keely later eats with Jack and lays out that she wants to do some love bombing too. And I'm just in awe that we've spent this much time with Keely and her character arc has gone absolutely fucking nowhere this whole season. Meanwhile, Nate had a good episode, but we never get to see Nate at all this season. We've been through 7 episodes. I feel like we've seen Nate in maybe like 3 of them, maybe even 2. But I have to spend... Let me not. It'll come up again later anyway. Moving on to Nate. Nate continues to lust after Jade, whose name I also just now learned this week, the hostess at his restaurant that he likes, which I also just now learned the name of this week, Taste of Athens. Well, I can't say I just learned it. The names don't come up enough for me to retain them. So a lot of times I'll get out here and I'll start talking. I'm like, I don't remember the name of the hostess or the restaurant. And it's just because the names don't come up on the show enough. But he continues to lust after Jade, who I've been wondering this whole time, who does she remind me of? She looks like a really young version of Vanessa Bayer from SNL. Or that used to be on SNL. Anyway, he asks his mom and sister for advice. And they show him an extremely extravagant map that his dad made for his mom when he wanted to impress her enough when he was asking her out. And it's a creative map, no doubt. But like, that idea is definitely meant to make the audience go, "Aw," but I can't see anyone doing that much to ask someone out for the first time. Like, that was a lot. But hey, romantic comedies stretch romantic believability / plausibility to its absolute fucking breaking point. So this is light work. I could accept this. Nate runs into the Taste of Athens owner, who, again, same reason, haven't seen him enough to retain his name. If someone said it, I'd be like, yeah, that's the fucking guy, but I don't know his name. He runs into him while he's like we've seen him like walk by the restaurant a couple of times this episode looking for Jade. Hope he just catch a glimpse of Vanessa Bayer. And Nate clumsily kind of works through whether or not he wants the owner to give Jade a message on his behalf. And this sort of like charming aloofness from Nate, it's been missing this season. You know, I really like the arc that Nate had been on up to this point, the abuse in season 1 and to what he became in season 2. But now it feels like once they did the heel turn, they didn't really know what to do with him next. Like, Nate's been so criminally underutilized this season, and that really comes through in that scene. You know, he struggles to get through it. I'm sorry. It really comes through in that scene. And then I want to talk about another example of great Nate scenes. We could have been getting more of this whole time. This one happens when Nate actually decides to ask Jade out. He has trouble, just getting to the asking out process, and he heads to the bathroom, and I think we're all sitting there wondering, oh my God, does he have to spit on something in order to work up the confidence to actually ask Jade out? And as Nate pauses, and we pause, I think we come to understand that through Nate's experiences, he has already gained that confidence. He doesn't need to spit in the fucking mirror or whatever. And maybe he doesn't need to spit. He could just take his mom and sister's advice and do a romantic gesture just like his dad did. So he decides, he's like, I'll be right back. I'm gonna do something else. And he runs off and he makes a gift for Jade. Essentially a box that opens up. It's a, I don't know what he made it of, like a little model of the two of them standing at the lectern. I don't know. I feel like if you not like, what's the little podium thing that a hostess stands behind, but they're not there to like give a presentation. So I kind of feel like it's not a lectern, it's something else. But you know what I'm talking about. It's them standing at that thing, and he goes to deliver it. He trips and falls on the way in. The box is ran over by a car. He asked her out anyway. She says yes. And then that initially made me go, well, then what the fuck was the point of the gift scenes with the mom and the sister? If the gift just gets destroyed, he asks her out, she says yes. But then I thought, what was the point is kind of the point. Like, he never needed that shit. He just needed to go ask her. She was already feeling him. It was obvious. Nate's insecurities were creeping up again. And now, in the confidence that he's gained since that time, he has come to realize, and we are, I think, meant to understand, that Nate has kind of become a more confident person and has now stepped into that role. And I'm cool with that, you know. I'm cool. But I miss Nate's bumbling awkwardness. Like, he was one of the best characters on the show. Now we barely get to see him at all. You know, when Nate's mom says that he can never know if Jade likes him unless he asks her out, he goes to this long scenario of all the ways in which it could go wrong. Super detailed, like this wrong thing happens, then that causes this next wrong thing, then that causes this thing. And it's such a long, funny thing, and it's so typically Nate, and I feel like we rarely get that now. Meanwhile, I have to sit through multiple fucking Keeley scenes every fucking week, like this on-off, unfunny piece of shit gag they did with her doing the on-off with the fucking window, and I'm just like, this is not any fucking good at all. Like, why do I have to keep sitting these fucking Keeley scenes every week? Anyway, closing out with a couple of thoughts. This episode wasn't entirely devoid of laughs. I like the convo at the Crown and Anchor between Ted and Beard, where Beard is mentioning that Jane's been hinting about pegging, and he's like, she's been leaving magazines everywhere, and he goes through the whole thing, and Ted's like, what magazines? Like, I'm like, yeah, what kind of magazine do you leave out that's meant to hint at pegging? Like, what? And then I also thought, when they switched roles, I liked when Isaac and Danny were like imitating each other's voices and shit like that. And then I loved Will dressed up as Coach Beard as well. I thought that was really good. There were a couple of other funny moments, but nothing really uproarious. But, just to kind of like sum up what I was saying, Zava feels pointless. Shandy feels pointless. Everything involving Keeley feels pointless. Like, it hasn't really been here. Nate, great, but we never fucking see him. So it's like, the Sam stuff, great, doesn't happen enough. So it's like, in this episode, you see both the best and worst of this show, I think. And unfortunately, the stuff that's the worst is, I think, outnumbering the good stuff, when if you look back at season 1, none of that stuff even fucking existed. So, sorry. That's my thoughts on episode 7. Let me know yours. I will see you guys next week for episode 8. And until then, peace.